Welcome everybody to this webinar. I will present myself again. My name is Nadia. I am online project manager at telc. Today we have one of our most important English teachers of telc and author. Her name is Laura Edwards. She has been working with us for several years, although she's very young. And she's going to present a very interesting and funny webinar today.
Thanks very much, Nadia. I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to have you all here. My name is Laura Edwards, and as Nadia mentioned, I'm an English teacher, and I also work for telc in test development, so as a test author and materials writer. Today, my objectives are to introduce telc's English practice material online and also to share some ideas for classroom tasks to help motivate your students to use technology outside of the classroom. A little intro into the English practice material range. Originally, there was the print material concept, and as you can see here, there were practice material at CEFR levels B1, B2. As telc offers exams at all different levels of the CEFR, but one of their products, the dual level exams, and this is very popular. These are exams that look always at two levels, and for teachers who have mixed ability classes, you can prepare all your students for the one exam, and then your students, they get the certificate based on where they are on the range. So everybody would get a certificate, but it would be based on where they are. So this is very popular, and telc created some print materials to go along with that. And they were 20 units of 20 emotions. So they took a different angle than the usual topic approach, you know, my family, my job, my holidays, etc. Instead, they looked at emotions. And there were 4 books, each for a skill, and they could be used individually. So teachers who were teaching conversation classes could also use these. So they didn't have to be used as exam preparation, but they were good companions, let's say. Or you could use them in any combination. And then from that, the concept, the online material concept grew. And you can see here how it links. So they also were linked exactly to the B1, B2 levels. The 20 emotions, the same emotions as in the book, and also the different skills. Reading, listening, grammar, and vocabulary. So you have a bit more of a focus on grammar and vocab here than you would maybe in the classroom. And you could complete, students have great autonomy with regards what they want to do, or teachers what they assign their students. You can start from unit 1, or you can pick a unit that just suits whatever you were learning or you were doing at the time. And the idea was they were a good way of preparing participants for these tests. But as I said, they didn't have to be used. They weren't very test-oriented. They were more skill-oriented. And for those of you familiar with the CEFR, you know that it's a task-based approach. It's not a grammar syllabus or a vocab syllabus, but it's built around the emotions and tasks. So now I'm going to talk about the technology a little bit. And in a few minutes, I'm going to be asking you guys some questions. But first, I'm getting the background out of the way. You're here, which is a good sign, so I'm sure you know the benefits of using technology, but the main benefits would be, you know, the flexibility for your students to learn anytime, anywhere, and you can go at your own pace, which I think is very important. You can repeat things as often as required. So it really is putting the student, giving the power to the student, and it's great flexibility. It's adaptable, of course. You could use the tool that best suits your needs. So if it's listening that you feel is your weakness, then you can find online, you can find with technology, all the listening you need, you know, and also engaging. Of course, a little bit more vibrant than, say, the print materials tend to be. You've got integrated video and interaction, etc. So there would be the benefits of using technology. Here we have an image that we don't want to encounter in our day-to-day lives. So we're aware of the benefits of the technology, but of course the issue is like, where do you start? And as technology becomes embedded in schools and universities and our training, there are more expectations on English teachers to utilize technology and to bring technology into our classroom. And it can be very difficult, and it can be a lot of pressure on teachers And so the question is like, where do I start and how do I succeed? So tech shouldn't be used for the sake of using technology, of course. It should be used if it is truly enhancing the learning experience. So we don't want this, like I said, just for the sake of it, just to get attention. So we have to be able to be successful by choosing things that will actually enhance the learning experience. So before we go any further, I want to ask you, and you can answer maybe A, B, and C. If you move on to the next slide, please, Nadia. I have some questions. So how do you feel about using technology with your students? A is enthusiastic. I regularly add some tech elements to my lessons. B, interested. I've tried once or twice but feel I need more ideas. And C, hesitant. I'm not sure it would work with my students. You might feel a mix of all these, but just take a second now to answer, make a little comment. How do you feel about using technology with your students? So we'll just give you a minute to answer.
So we have already some answers, Laura. The most part of them are answering B.
B, yeah. I wrote it down this way because I also sometimes mostly I'm A, sometimes I'm B, sometimes I'm C. I think it really depends where I am, the context I'm in, and who my students are. So we have to keep in mind that there's no one answer, one magic, one solution to everything. That context is a huge issue for us, and we have to decide what's appropriate when. But I'm happy to see most people are interested.
But we have one person here, Laura, who is A. No? We have one A person here. Wow.
Very good. Regularly. Yes. So they will know what I mean when I say, it's context driven too. We have to really ask ourselves, does it suit? Sometimes I have fabulous ideas. Oh, I think, it's going to be amazing. And somehow my plan doesn't really, come across. Maybe I didn't plan properly or I didn't take into account, I don't know, how prepared my students are for this. So next slide anyway, I can give you some tips. We all need guidance when it comes to implementing something new. I say this because, as I just mentioned, even I'm studying ed technology masters and I use it a lot and I work in digital education. I still also need help and have situations that don't quite work according to plan. We take it with a pinch of salt. These things happen. If we all take it as a learning experience, I think things go a lot easier. There's always a plan B, So we need to know that it doesn't have to be perfect and things can go a little bit wrong and you can try something, learn from it and adapt it for the next time. We all have different comfort levels, particularly our students, and we have to take that into account. Saying that, I do believe that even the most technophobic students can benefit from trying something new. So it's only a matter of you looking at your group and gently trying something that might help them. So keep context in mind, baby steps, and don't stress if things don't work out according to plan. It's a process, So we'll turn these can't into I can do it, and to achieve amazing results. So the two things I think when it comes to introducing the technology to your students, in my experience, the two things for success is demonstrate the tools in class with the students numerous times if necessary. Try it out. That too, if you're doing it all in English, that too is a learning experience. Some teachers, I can just send them, I'll give it to them for homework, I'll send them online. And if people are not comfortable, they'll get demotivated. So my suggestion is demonstrate it in class, turn it into a part of your lesson. As I said, in English, it's task-based. If we're learning together how to use something, all in English, it's also a learning moment. And interact with the content with confidence. And to do that, you need to practice it yourself, So they would be the two kind of keys, I think, for success. All these photos and images that I'm showing you all along the way, all these very bright and attractive images, are all from the modules, the online modules for telc English practice material online. So it's supposed to be slowly showing you and getting you a little bit excited about the idea. Later on I'll talk about how you can get online, but first I'm going to show you some of these activities that I think you could use in class to motivate your students, show them the material and get them enthusiastic about trying it out themselves at home. Okay, so this is for blended learning material, but you could use these ideas with anything really. I just mentioned the images. So the first thing would be about using visuals, using images. So you want to motivate your students to homework, to go online and do these activities. So introducing them into class and making a game out of it is one good way of getting the students a little bit excited. So with an image like this one here, out of office, you know, while you're enjoying your holiday, I'll be slaving away at work. Okay. The first task you could do is using the visuals. You can start with simple tasks to introduce the material and attract students' attention. So use this image in class to introduce office vocab. That would be the first idea I had. So I looked at this, I thought it's obviously an office setting, office vocab. So you could do two things. Firstly, you could let the students do this Kim's game, I don't know, memory style game, where you give the students, you display the image on your whiteboard or on your projector, if that's what you have, and you give them a minute to memorize. Have a look at the picture and put it into their memory. And then you turn off the screen and the students then have a certain amount of time to write as many of the objects as they saw. So, you know, these very simple, I used to play this with young learners, hiding things underneath a cloth and, you know, they had to guess what was missing or what they remembered. So the same style thing, and it would start introducing vocab about the office. So that would be one very simple game. Maybe the team with the most words gets the most points or something like that. If you want to try game some points and a bit of competition, you could do that. So that would be one idea. Looking at the picture and turning it off, memorizing the vocab. So all of these games I'm mentioning, plus these pictures and the units they come from, are all on this worksheet. So later on, if you want to think about putting it in your classroom, I've given you the game, brief instructions how to do it, and then what units, 3 or 4 units or modules that it works well with. So there's no excuse. I want to see you doing this. Okay, here's another one. A housewarming party. So the first one I showed you, we looked at vocab. For this one, you could use visuals again, but this time I thought verbs without turning off the screen, or if you want to, you could. You give them a bit of time. I thought here they have 90 seconds or 2 minutes to list what is happening. Housewarming party, what's happening at the party. How many verbs can you think of that suit this situation? If you look at the picture very carefully, so we could say they are eating, they are talking. That's a little bit boring. You could try and encourage the students to be a bit more imaginative. She is tasting an olive there. She is carving some meat, maybe. Yeah, you could really expand on this. They are flirting. I definitely think there's some flirting going on there.
The woman, I think the woman, she looks a little bit like Spaniard. No, maybe the guy, he's interested.
So you could see, you could time the activity, give the students in pairs a chance. So what we're here is just thinking about how we can use the visuals. So very simple. It's almost a tech-free task. But the idea is you're eliciting ideas, getting them interested, getting them looking at you, how you set it up, how you went online to this program, and then they're getting excited. So when you give them this for homework, they feel familiar when they encounter this online.
We have some answers here, Laura. Let's see what some said. Eating, discussing, tasting, laughing, trying olives, cutting meat, asking, drinking, cutting. The man in the middle is holding a bowl of olives, okay, offering some olives. Offering some olives to the woman next to him. Very good.
Yeah, not on my list. I had the usual ones, but every time you could really elicit a lot of vocab and see who comes up with the different ideas. So this would be a nice little warm-up task before they go online. Okay, as I said, so these two were sort of using the visuals. They're not very, they're kind of easy. No tech really, just a simple way of getting their attention, eliciting vocab that might come up. And now we're going to introduce a little bit of tech. So here we're going to show them a little bit of what we could do. So here you'd be modeling. So my idea is for students that are definitely not very confident with technology, you and with your computer and your projector, you could do, although these tasks are geared towards individual study, self-study, you could do this in the classroom. So you could log on and you could have this module open, and that's what I'm going to show you now, how you could actually do the tasks in class with the students. So they practice it, they do it as a group. It might encourage, it might give them the confidence to try it then themselves at home. For this one here, you're showing, like I said, the tool, what the tool looks like. There's no fear. You're showing them they can't break it. Nothing is going to go wrong. And for this, I would like so vocal responses was what I was thinking here. So what I'm doing here, this is just a little video that shows you a sample from this unit. So this is Expectation, Module 3, Many, Numerous, Plentiful is the title. So again, you can see lovely, beautiful images and colors here. There's a lot of, discussion you can do. So what I would get you to do is, we'll just have a look. And the thing is, which adjective doesn't fit? So for this, if I had a small class, I'm going to get them just to shout out the answers. Yeah, so this is vocal response. Depends now how you do it on the size, but in general, I'm going to get my students to shout out the answers. So we'll just have a look. Double click on the word that doesn't fit. So calm, peaceful, quiet, noisy. Students have to shout out noisy, competent, expert, unable, skilled. Get my class, yeah. So I did it a bit fast, I realize. Obviously, in your own lesson, you could take it at your own speed there. I made this little video just to show what it looks like. So this depends again on the size of the class, and you get the idea. It's all very colourful, get students in learning what it's all about, what it looks like.
What I really like about the material also is the feedback. No? Every time you do something wrong or correct, you have a new sentence. Now you learn how to give feedback also in English. No?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's so motivating. Yeah. I mean, as we said, these are self-study materials, but the problem is, what I see and from talking to different teachers, is they themselves know the materials and they think it's really great, but they just know how to connect the classroom with the online material. Yeah. And then people are afraid, well, the tech savvy ones, the ones who know the tech will do it, the other ones won't. It doesn't work. So a lot of teachers say to me, I see it's there, I know it's great, they're great materials, but I don't know how to really get there. Mm-hmm. And so these are just ideas, I think, modeling it as much as possible in the classroom and making it normalizing it. It's not such a big thing. Will give them the courage and the enthusiasm bit by bit to actually go on and try it themselves. You can try a few things in class and then say go on for homework. And you can do this regularly until you feel your students don't need the in-class instruction anymore, that you can say, right guys, module 5 for homework. And you know that they're confident enough to go and do that. And as Nadia said, the feedback is there. You can see yourself. You can play some games again and again and again. You've got everything integrated. So this is another one. It's the same kind of idea. Listen to someone talking about buying a new home, then double click on the house that would suit them best. So for this, I have added pretend post-it notes. So these are not on, normally these little things A, B, C, and D are not on it. The screen has just the images. It's very, very nice images, and the audio that you click the audio button there. And also you'll see on the right-hand side, there's this other little icon for the script. So for students who didn't catch the audio, maybe who just are not so good at the listening or need a bit of help, they can also listen again and again and again, and they can click and read the script as well to help them. So you can see why this is a great tool for, as I said earlier, like adaptable to your needs. If I'm really great at listening, I can do it very quickly. Others can take their time. We're not slowing everyone up or making the class too fast-paced. When you have something like this, what you could do is on the board, stick up a few post-it notes, label all the pictures. So there's a lot of these type of tasks, image and audio, and they're very interesting. So as a practice in class, you could label them and then just play each one. And each time then either vocal response, your students shout out that one was A or that one was B, and you can have a bit of fun with them. Are you sure? And then click, double click and see if they were right. If the majority said A, click A, maybe it's right, maybe it's not. You can try again. That's what I said. Your objective, again, remember, is getting them interested in the material itself. That's that one. This was looking at vocal. So first we did images, now we were looking at vocal, getting the students to shout out. So here's something else. Have a look at this. It said which of these sentences contain adjectives and which contain adverbs. Drag each sentence that appears into the correct category. Again, you could do it vocal response. But maybe, this is a grammar point. Maybe you had it in the book, or you've been doing this and you want to test. You really want to see, are the students getting it? So my suggestion for this, you could do vocal response, or you could give each student or get them to take 2 pieces of paper, one of them with adjective, one of them with adverbs. And so as the task comes up, so you see the sentences pop up and you have to drag the sentences to the right category. So as the sentences pop up, thanks for all your hard work, all your students read it and they hold up adjective or adverb, and then you have an overview. You can look at the whole group and you can see 60% of them know what it is, or you can see. I use this a lot, this idea. I have these little mini whiteboards and markers, and I get students to write stuff up. And it's a great way of seeing how many students are getting the right answer. I mean, normally when you have a book, you could get into the habit of saying, okay, John, what's the answer to number 7? Okay, Mary, what's the answer to number 8? But you're not getting an overview. So with this idea, you have a physical and visual cue as to how your students are doing. Okay, so that was my other idea. I won't show you this video now, but basically what it is the little sentences pop up. Thanks for all your hard work. And you double click and drag it, and then the next sentence pops up. Okay, and for that one I'm using vocal or cards. I'm introducing the idea of cards. So here you could do the very same thing. This one now may be a little bit trickier. You could get them to work in pairs or whatever. For this one I was thinking about the idea, this is from Friendliness. You could do sort of a points system, the first team, I don't know, some people, it depends on who you're teaching, the age maybe, I don't know, or how competitive they are. Some teachers like to introduce sort of point systems and a bit of competition into the classroom. If your students like the idea of winning with games, something like this, which has the same thing, A, B, C, you could drag, basically what the words pop up and you drag the word, so it's for collocations, you drag it to the right category. So you could do it, put up your, you could shout out the answer, or again with your cards, you could label it A, B, C. They have to hold up their answers and maybe you could give them points, things like that. The other thing you could have is you could have playing cards or tokens. The first group that get the answer right get the token, and the group that has the most tokens or playing cards or whatever you use at the end wins. I can do this with my groups that have like 8 or 10 participants. That's something that I do. Depends on the size of the group. I have a lot of groups of about 10 students, and something like this, at the end of the week, it gets them very motivated, and, something, so the game element, As again, I can see at a glance how my students are doing. If we use this visual, I can see from the group, I can look around, I can see, right, they all got A, so they all know. If they had A, B, and C, and they had to rush to hold up the right answer, it's a bit of a laugh, but as well, I can see at a glance how they're doing. So for me, that's very useful with some of my groups. I think that sometimes we say, for example, I have mostly business, and sometimes we say, oh, business, can't do games with them or anything like that. But I think it depends how you approach it. I think they see the value. If you make it transparent, our purpose is we're having a laugh, but really I'm getting them familiar with this tool that we're going to use. And I'm taking away of their fear and their uncertainty by making such a positive experience with, making sure they have a positive experience with it, I believe.
Yes.
All about the emotion, the comfort level with the things. You'll have much more success. And I think a bit of a laugh, especially on a Friday or whatever, is a good way of running the class.
I think definitely. I think when you really like your class and you have fun, you probably memorize better the information. If I remember my school time, I remember all my funny lessons and teachers. It's stay there, no? The information, because you combine with your emotion.
Exactly, and motivation and feeling good about the whole thing, as well as building the confidence. And something like this you can do multiple ways. I mean, you can take the same activity out a few weeks later and say, okay, we're going to revise, but this time you do it a different way. Another thing you could do with this, now it depends again on the age of, maybe the age, or I don't know, or how you sell it to the students, but you could do hand signals. If I was doing this workshop face-to-face, by now you'd all be standing up, and I would say, for example, if A is the answer, hands up, B maybe hands on your hips, and C is hands on your knees or something, you know? So a little bit of physical reaction. So you work out your hand signals in the end, put it on the board, A, hands up, B, I don't know, hands on your shoulders, and C, hands on your hips, or hands on your knees, whatever you want to do, and then get them doing it, get them laughing. The word comes up and they're, so bit of movement, they're having fun, but of course they're learning. And the other thing is that you're able to see how they're doing. You know, you can gauge whether they're doing it well. You know, you could come up with any little signals that you want. So you could have, as I said, you can do vocal, you can do cards, ABCs, some physical sign. You could, that would be some ways of doing that. Now, these are very typical type of activities that you see in a book. Picking gap fill, I suppose, picking the right answer, multiple choice. But you could also do these. I mean, it doesn't mean, okay, they're not as interactive as, say, the other ones, the drag and drop and the categorizing, but it's also possible to do these. Maybe as a review in the classroom later on, you want to do it with the whole group. So for this, I mean, you could take the classic route and do pen and paper, like a quiz. I think there's 9 questions in this activity in total. So they'd number their sheet 1 to 9, and with their partner, you would do each thing. After 3, you can correct the first 3. You can do it set by set, or you can do the whole thing. So that would be the classic way of introducing them to this style of task, you know, in front of as a whole group. The classic thing. So I just wanted to show this one because, you know, you could set a time limit perhaps. The other thing, so that would be one thing. You could do the classic pen and paper. You don't have to be running around in the class. You can use these, get great use out of them. It's great material, as I said, and you can get great use out of them even if your students don't have the computer connection at home or something like that. You can still use these materials with yourself. As long as you have a computer and internet access and can somehow show it, you can use this. As I said, you could use it with pen and paper. You could also label each like ABC, ABC, or whatever, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and get them to shout out as well. But I just wanted to show that, you know, once you start thinking about it, any type of task is nothing that you couldn't turn into a classroom activity. This one again, just another example. It's a drag and drop. Match the words to the corresponding picture. The beauty of these type of ones is you could do pen and paper. They write down their list. You could time them. You could write down their list, you know, so you're reordering. You've got all the words on the side and you're ordering them 1, 2, 3, you know, along. So what you could do then to make it a little bit game-like is you could get everybody to stand up and you could do a process of elimination. So everybody stands up and they have their list of their decision, what they think, and you could say, if your first word is not rewarding, sit down. So everyone who has rewarding as the first word, which is correct, they stay standing up, and the people who got it wrong sit down. Then you go on to the second one. So if your second one is not, I forget what the second one is, recognized, sit down. So you do a process of elimination, and maybe by the number 3 they had them all wrong, and they're all down. We would hope not, but you could do it this way. Then you give them, you know, you could give them another chance to try it again, etc. So you would be combining the classic, as I said, paper and pen with their partner, putting it in order, looking at the pictures, and then you could get them to stand up, and if you're getting one wrong, sit down. You get it wrong, sit down until you have the ultimate winner or winners, or maybe they all win, I don't know. The other thing, again, is going back to the visuals, is these pictures could promote a lot of discussion. So you could also then, once you're done, you could ask the students to put them in a sentence based on the picture and the word. You know, you could get discussions. So you could get great mileage out of this one task itself. You don't have to, you know, at home they're probably just going to do the task, move on, do the task, move on. But because they're so visual, you could get a lot of extra use out of it yourself in class by creating vocab activities and discussion activities and just describing the pictures, etc., using the words yourself. We're coming to the last few. Here's an example again, as I said. You know, there's always ways of doing them. Label them and just get them to shout out the answers or write the answers. So what I'm doing here really is just showing you, the teacher, some of the different types of tasks that are available and trying to encourage you as well as the student to go online and try this tool out for yourself. There we go. So this is a video. I didn't want to show too much. They take up a lot of time, of course, these videos, but they're a nice little way of getting you familiar with, you know, what everything looks like. This is the first. They always have their intro slide. It's always very visual, each module. And then we'll just have a look.
I've asked my boss for a pay rise. I told him that he simply couldn't do without me and that I deserved more.
Okay, I mean, I could go on, but I just show you that much. So they're always the same. You've got an image of a person. You have the question, how would you respond? You know, it's supposed to be interactive. It's supposed to be more conversation-like. You hear something, and then you decide what the appropriate answer is. And so what I did with this, I also did it at a workshop with about 40 participants, which caused a bit of chaos, but it worked, is I divided the front of the room into 3 areas. I used masking tape to make like 3 lines. And we had A on the left-hand side, B in the middle, and C on the right-hand side. And everybody had to stand, and then they had to listen and watching the screen, and then they had to run to the zone which they believed was the correct answer. Yes, can you imagine doing this at a workshop?
Like Jane Fonda, no? Around
yes, I tell you. This is very good. They were a big group of teachers from all over the world. They were very enthusiastic, but they were getting a bit, their direction was not so good. So they were bumping into each other. But it was fun. Everybody was interacting. So everybody had to think. Of course, there was the element of some people were just running after their partner, their friends. But so, you know, it depends again. I did it, like I said, with adults, with teachers, and it was great fun. So you could make it really something like this. Is very simple. You could use it with a lot of different tasks, but very, very physical. So you move, you know, the front of your classroom, depends on the number, but you break it into zones, a bit of masking tape very easily, A, B, and C. And then when you have, I think you have something like, say, 8 different audios here, you know, you could do it, you could really get some mileage out of it. And this type of activity where you have 3 choices or 2 choices, you could do that with a lot of these different activities. Moving around the room, it works, you know, people like it, and they're interactive. Instead of sitting and waiting knowing that John over there is going to answer the question, everybody's answering the questions. Yeah. Everybody is taking part, you know. So as I said, the goal was to show you some ways where you can use material that's created for self-study and really bring it into the classroom, have fun, get people all interacting with it, and then hopefully when you set it for homework, everybody's going to feel confident and everyone's going to feel motivated.
Laura, I think this would be a good opportunity to show how people can find this material. No, you can maybe show very briefly, since you can share your screen, how people find campus and how they log in, maybe very briefly.
You go onto the telc website. I am going to click on English just for the sake of it. And then you would go to campus. So yeah, this is very important. So this is the first page of the campus. And you can see here, telc Campus, your online training platform. So I would definitely recommend as well in class to do this with your students step by step, show them, because teachers overestimate their students sometimes. And so it's always a good thing, walk them through it step by step. Even if it's easy, it doesn't hurt. So when you get here, there are some demos. So people, if they're not really, you know, if they want to check it out, there's the demo for the A2.
Yes, because we have 2 English practice materials online. We have A2, B1, B1, B2. So there we have like resume, how do you say? like
Yeah.
a short 2 models of A2, A1 and
One,
B2, just to have an
yeah.
idea of the whole material.
That's a great idea even for you yourself to try it out. Although now you've seen so much, I'm sure you're convinced. But just as a nice little thing to try. I want to remind everybody again, of course, that all of this is free, completely free for everybody. Totally free for teachers, for students, for everybody. So where will you go? So these are the demos, but for us, we want to go here, register now for free. And when you go in here, I think I'm logged in or whatever, you would register, yeah, as a student, and you create, you can see my details are there. So if I go in, it will bring me to my...
If you are a TEG rater, you have already a code number, so you just have to log in with your code number. But for example, you can tell your students to register for free, and they can use all units. They have like 300 modules to practice English.
A lot of work. And the great thing about it is you can do the complete course, as I said. You can start at Module 1, Unit 1, Module 1, and work your way through if that's what you want to do. But it's not built, it's not designed to just be used that way. It's not designed around a grammar syllabus. It's designed based on the CEFR, so the Common European Framework. So it's all task-based. So different descriptors were used for different units. So one unit, this descriptor might be about speaking to audiences, maybe about formal monologue, addressing audiences. These might be the CEFR descriptors. So the writers and everybody who worked on the project, we took those descriptors and then created lots of tasks. So you're listening to presentations and you're reading about a presentation, you know. So instead of just taking grammar, we said, well, what grammar or what vocab would you need to complete this descriptor, to be able to tick this can-do statement off, you know. So that's how it works. So you can move around whatever interests you. The other option here is that you can pick focused learning. So if your student realizes the weakness is their listening, they can click on listening and the database gives them all the different listening tasks, everything that involves listening, and they could do those. So it's ideal for exams or, you know, not just ours, but other exams, just for people who need more listening at the appropriate level with some tasks based on comprehension and things like that. It's all free. As long as you have an internet, you can use it wherever you are in the world, and I think that's fabulous. I'm really happy about that. So just a recap. This is what we talked about, and these will just be on the handout. So using images to practice or elicit vocab or grammar, vocal responses, getting students to shout out, using cards, A, B, and C, etc., adverbs, adjectives, depending what the task is. Pieces of paper, I mean, when I say cards, you very loosely, any old scraps of paper, but something that, you know, they're interacting all of them at the one time with the material, and you can see an overview of how they're doing. Hand signals, pen and paper, you know, if that's the type of class you have. Some of my business classes, they wouldn't be comfortable with running around the room, but they'd be happy with working with a partner, like it's a timed quiz or something, and moving around the room, which I personally like, but not everybody agrees with me. So we're coming to the end. Has my experiment worked? Are you interested in learning more about these amazing free online materials? I hope yes. I hope yes. Okay, we showed you where to go, telc.net, campus, and register.
And you also have a Facebook group. For example, we are 30 members. But if you have some specific questions about English practice material, about our material German for doctors as well, you can state the questions there. I just want to remind some users or some attendees that we have English program, we have a training program for English, and these are one of our courses that we offer for teachers. So for example, we have these courses, we have a free of charge in-house offer, which is the English practice material, VHS. If you are a Volkshochschule teacher, you can call us and you go to our Volkshochschule to show our English practice material. So if you want to be a TEG examiner or rater, we also offer qualification courses. Here you find the links where you can find more information. We have courses in Germany. And for those who already are TEG raters and examiners, you can also do a training online on our TEG campus if you want to find out how it looks like. you can see our free course, the Dual Examiner Training level. This is totally free. If you just want to find out how does it work, am I able to do this, you can take a look in our TED campus again. And if you are in social media, we are also on Facebook, we are on Twitter, and also on YouTube. So, bye Laura, bye everybody.